Well, it's 10:30 somewhere, so we'll call the meeting to order. Welcome to everybody who's here this morning and online. This is a public meeting concerning proposed zoning bylaw amendments pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act. We have three files here to consider this morning. The first is C-3524 for David Bauman. The second is C-3624 for Manassas S. Martin. C-37-24 for Mark and Irene Frey has been pulled by the applicant, so we will not be considering that one here this morning. C-38-24 is for Eamon Bauman. I hope I got that first name correct. Eamon, is that how you pronounce that, Madam Clerk? Yes? Okay, thank you. Any person or public body is entitled to attend the public meeting and make written or oral submissions in support of or in opposition to any of the proposed zoning bylaw amendments. Written comments should be submitted to the clerk, Lindsay Green. Please be aware that planning reports will be presented to the council when the applicable bylaw is presented for consideration at a future council meeting. No person or public body shall be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal unless, before the bylaw was passed, the person or public body made oral submissions at a public meeting or written submissions to the council, or, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to add that person or public body as a party. Anyone wishing to file a notice of appeal is encouraged to seek legal advice on your appeal rights given recent changes to the Planning Act because of Bill 185. So the first zoning bylaw amendment is file number C-35-24 for David Bauman. The purpose of the application The purpose of the application is to expand an on-farm diversified use to manufacture and install farm ventilation systems, rezoned in 2013 from 600 square meters combined floor area with no outdoor storage to a maximum of 750 square meters floor area with 500 square meters of outdoor storage. A zoning restriction allowing only two non-resident resident employees is also proposed to be removed. The effect of this zoning bylaw amendment would be to amend the existing zoning to allow a 750 square meter on-farm diversified use with 500 square meters outdoor storage and remove the restriction on employees who do not reside on the property. Location of the subject lands are Concession 4, Southwest Toronto Sydenham Road, Lot 207, Part Lots 208 and 209 in the geographic Township of Proton, Township of Southgate. The civic address is 712665 Southgate Side Road 71. May I please have confirmation from the clerk that proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act?
Yes, through you, Chair Milne. Proper notice was given in accordance with the Act. The sign was posted on the subject property, and notice was sent out to residences within 120 meters of the subject lands.
Most excellent. Thank you, Lindsay. I'll now ask our junior planner, Victoria Mance, to review correspondence received from commenting agencies. Victoria, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I'll jump right in for C-35-24. So comments were received from Enbridge Gas, the Historic Saugeen Métis, and the Township Public Works Department, all of which had no concerns regarding the application. Safe access to the site can be provided, and a commercial paved entrance is actually already present on site. Comments from Grey County state that planning staff have no concerns regarding the proposed expansion of the use on site, provided D6 guidelines can be addressed, and county ecology staff also have no concerns regarding the application. Comments from Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority state that based on the site plan submitted, the proposed development would not be located within their approximate screening area. Therefore, review and permit from the SVCA will not be required. And no further comments were received at this time.
Thank you, Victoria. Would you please also review any written comments received by members of the public? If there
No
are
public. Nope, no public comments for this file.
Very good. Thank you so much. Are there any questions or discussion from council at this time? There will be later as well, but is anyone got any questions currently? Okay, not seeing any. I'll now ask if the applicant or agent is present. Please identify yourself if you wish by stating your name for the record, and if you'd like to make any press representation on your application. Is Mr. Bauman here? Nope. Okay. Is there anyone present who'd like to make a submission in support of this application? Is there anyone present who'd like to make a submission in opposition to this application? Okay. Any further questions or discussion from members of council? Barb?
Through you, Chair Milne, I guess this question is about ag-related diversified use versus on-farm diversified use. So it sounds as though they're changing their use to actually manufacture and install farm ventilation systems, which would be is that an agricultural use?
I have no idea. I would say yes, but I don't have any authority to answer that question. So I'm going to look to Victoria to give us some advice on that. Victoria, please.
Yeah, through you. I believe it's still the use that's continuing, that they're just expanding their workshop space. So it's still under an on-farm diversified use within the official plan.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, not seeing any questions, we'll move on to the next file. If it wasn't clear from my remarks at the start, of course, there'll be no decisions made here this morning on any of these files. It's simply to have a public meeting and make everybody aware that the applications are in process. So the second file is C36-24 for Manassas S. Martin. The purpose of the rezoning application is as follows: to rezone up to 4,000 square meters of the subject lands to permit up to 750 square meters of floor area for an on-farm diversified use, which is a small-scale dry manufacturing with a power room. Maximum 500 square meters outdoor storage, and address a proposed lot area of 20 hectares under consent application file B224, when current zoning requires 40 square meters minimum lot area. And I suspect that should have been 40 hectares minimum lot area, correct? Yep, okay. The effect is to rezone 4,000 square meters of the subject lands for a 750 square meter maximum on-farm diversified use, including power room with 500 square meters of outdoor storage. A new farm cluster would be established on a 20-hectare lot to be created under file B224, including house, shed, barn, and new entrance. The location of the subject lands are Concession 4, Southwest Toronto Sydenham Road, Lot 231 to 233, Geographic Township of Proton, in the Township of Southgate. The civic address is 180032 Grey Road 9. May I have, please, confirmation from the clerk that proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act?
Yes, through you, Chair Milne, proper notice was given in accordance with the Act. The sign was posted on the subject property, and notice was sent out to residents within 120 meters of the subject lands.
Most excellent. Thank you, Lindsay. I'll now ask our planner, Victoria Mance, to review correspondence received from commenting agencies and any written comments received by members of the public. Victoria, please.
Thank you very much, Mayor Milne. So comments were received from Enbridge Gas, Historic Saugeen Métis, and the Township Public Works Department, all of which had no concerns. Comments from the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority included that their comments remain the same for the related file, the consent file B2-24, which state that based on the site plan submitted, all current and proposed buildings and structures will be located outside or beyond their approximate screening area. So permission or an SVCA permit will not be required. Comments from Grey County state that provided D6 guidelines can be addressed, county planning staff have no concerns, and county transportation and ecology staff also have no concerns regarding the application. No further comments were received at this time.
None from the public either?
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Victoria. Are there any questions or discussion from council on this file at this time? Martin, please.
Thank you, Brian. Just a clarification here. It says in the county that provided D6 guidelines can be addressed, county planning have no concerns. Does county look after the making sure that's done, or Phil, do you as building code make sure those D6 things are, because it's all to do with noise, right?
I think Victoria will
Oh,
have a go at
Victoria?
that one. It's
Yeah, through you. It's typical. They usually throw that in with their comments for these on-farm diversified uses. So it's something that we always look at in our report. So it's always addressed in our on-farm diversified use reports for these types of rezonings for the D6 guidelines and the setbacks and whatnot. It's about 70 meters to around 200 or 300 meters is usually depending on the class. And this would usually probably be a class 1, so it'd probably be about 70 meters. And they're about 200 plus meters to the closest home.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Barb?
Thank you. Through you to Victoria or whomever. The severance that had been granted to split the 40 hectares into 20 hectares, or was this was a severance? And the rezoning is to recognize an on-farm diversified use on a smaller, well, 50% smaller than what we generally require in this current zone. How is 50% reduction a minor variance?
Victoria, please.
Through you, this is something that we've seen quite a few times already. It's been before you before where we mitigate the lot size. And in the official plan for these types of uses, on-farm diversified uses, we like to see 20 hectares or above for this type of use. There's also some stipulations for less than 20 hectares, I believe, or I'd have to double check if that's allowed, but with 20 hectares and above, this type of use is permitted. And it's about 8,000 square meters for the rezoned area, and the same type of thing that you've typically seen before for on-farm diversified use, 750 square meters for the workshop, 500 square meters for the outdoor storage area. So yeah, this is something that we've typically seen before where we mitigate the lot size, as well as allowing the on-farm diversified use.
Go ahead.
Thank you, but the notice of the applicant or the notice of the planning meeting indicates that address the proposed lot area of 20 hectares under consent application B224 when current zoning requires 40 should be hectares minimum lot area.
Yes, correct. Yeah, that's why this application is paired with the rezoning application for the on-farm diversified use. We typically like to have 40 hectares within this area, but they are allowed to rezone based on the consent application as part of the conditions of the consent as well. It's a requirement to rezone to mitigate the lot size.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions at this time? Okay, not seeing any. I'll now ask if the applicant or agent is present. If you wish, you can identify yourself by stating your name for the record. And would you like to make a representation on your application? Nope. Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in support of this application? Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in opposition to this application? Any further questions or discussion from members of council? Not seeing any. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next file, which is on the agenda as C37-24 for Mark and Irene Frey. However, that application has been withdrawn. Madam Clerk.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chairman. This file has been canceled at the request of the applicant's planning consultant. I just wanted to read into the record the statement that has been provided by the applicant's planning consultant. Mr. Frey is very uncomfortable in moving forward with his application at this time because he doesn't like the animosity with the neighbors, some of which is based on incorrect information that is being spread around. At this time, he is pausing the application, maybe just for now or maybe forever. He's going to consider his options. So that was the statement provided. So we will not be discussing this application. I just want to make note that should Mr. Frey decide to move forward in the future, a public meeting would need to be held at that time. And that would mean that proper notice would be given at that time in accordance with the Planning Act.
Very good. Thank you, Lindsay. So with that said, we'll move on to the fourth and final file this morning, C38-24 for Eamon Bauman. The purpose of the application is to rezone about 4,760 square meters of the subject lands to permit an on-farm diversified use with 750 square meters of floor area, including office and power room, and up to 500 square meters of outside storage. The zoned area will be located about 69 meters from the wetland boundary. The effect of this application is to zone 4,760 square meters of the subject lands away from the wetland boundary to allow a 750 square meter on-farm diversified use, including power room and office, plus 500 square meters outside storage. A proposed horse barn and shed will be constructed within the existing farm cluster of farmhouse and shed. Location of the subject lands is Concession 22, South Part Lot 24, RP 17R1215, Part 2, Geographic Township of Egremont, Township of Southgate. The civic address is 264549 Southgate Road 26. Madam Clerk, may I please have confirmation that proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act?
Yes, through you, Chair Milne, proper notice was given in accordance with the Act. The sign was posted on the subject property and notice was sent out to residences within 120 meters of the subject lands.
Very good. Thank you, Lindsay. I'll now ask our planner, Victoria Mance, to review correspondence received from commenting agencies and from the public, if there are any. Victoria, please.
Thank you, Mayor Milne. Comments were received again from Enbridge Gas, Historic Saugeen Métis, and the Township Public Works Department, all of which had no concerns. Public Works stated that safe access can be provided to the site, and they also require a commercial gravel entrance. Comments from the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority included that staff have not yet completed a site inspection to the property to determine if a permit will be required. SVCA staff may recommend further updates to the EP zone or the environmental protection zone to reflect site conditions and can provide further details once available. Based on the submitted proposal, the proposed development will encroach into their approximate screening area, but will not be located within the wetland or the swamp. SVCA will not require the preparation of any environmental study to support the proposal. Comments from Grey County. They stated that provided D6 guidelines can be addressed, county planning staff have no concerns. County ecology staff indicate that the potential impact to natural heritage features would be negligible and the requirement for an EIS can be waived. Staff have no concerns. Public comment was received for this file from Tina Lindsay, who expressed concern regarding the size of the power room, the purpose of the proposal, and the impact to the property value. Township staff did provide some further information just to help clarify and did not find anything following up from the public, and no further comments were received at this time.
Very good. Thank you, Lindsay, or Victoria, sorry. Are there any questions or discussion from council at this time? Okay. I will now ask if the applicant or agent is present. If they wish, they can identify themselves and make any representation on the application if they wish. Sir,
I'm the applicant, Eli Shirk.
do you want to come up to the microphone or please?
Yeah, Eli Shirk here. I am the applicant and came here to answer any questions, whatever.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. I'll ask if there's anyone present who would like to make a submission in support of this application. Conversely, I'll ask if there's anyone present who would like to make a submission in opposition to this application. Okay, I'll take the first lady there in the blue jacket, please. State your name and your address and your comments, please.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Tina Lindsay. My address is 1 Murray Lake, Highway 651, Missinabie. I am a part owner of the property right next door to this application.
Okay.
And I don't have that number written down right in front of me because I wasn't prepared to give that. I didn't
That's
know.
fine.
This is my first time speaking at one of these. I said, good morning and thank you to each of the people who have come here today to oppose this application. For those of you who don't know, I am speaking about the property directly beside the property asking for the amendment. Our family, meaning parents Nelson and Esther Kurt, purchased this property 44 years ago for the continued peaceful enjoyment. It was to retire to after building a home that would accommodate them in their older years. We have now purchased this from Esther so that we can continue that tradition of continued peaceful enjoyment. We currently live off-grid in a remote location. We do not run generators where we are. We run solar panels with battery backup. We are a green home and business. We have no interest in being near a generator. We have no interest or intent to go backwards and have to listen to a generator. This is one of the few places that we can go to and still be able to sleep. We cannot stress the continued peaceful enjoyment enough. The plan is for this property to remain in the family for many generations. It is already in our wills for the next generation. If you allow this manufacturing business to be built, we will have to sell and move. This brings me to my next issue. I have spoken to a realtor. She expects the value of this property to devalue by at the very least $100,000, probably closer to $200,000. If you need me to, and if this will actually cause this to be stopped, I will pay for an appraisal to prove what any sensible person can reasonably figure. You put it in writing and I will get it done. I believe it is the township's responsibility to guard its constituents wholly. That includes property values and quality of lifestyle. I do not think a manufacturing business should be allowed this close to residences enjoying the continuous peace and quiet. There are business parks being developed exactly for that. I want to know, what is the accepted density for manufacturing business in an agricultural designated area? And what is that density now in this township? I think you guys should look at that. Okay. I also take issue with the specific area of the property being rezoned. It is the prime cash crop area of the said farm. This may be zoned agriculture, but the said farmland is a very small portion of the 23.8 hectares. How many hectares are the protected wetlands, hazard sites? Then the area to be rezoned is well above the allowed 2% level. I take issue with the application because it doesn't even state what the light manufacturing will be. How is anyone supposed to figure out if the D6 is supposed to be class 1 or class 2? I know it doesn't qualify for class 3. It doesn't state why it needs a power room. I again ask why this application is being considered when the understanding is that there will be a skid steer used to generate the power instead of the provincial federal government's preference for low carbon fuel electricity usage. This is not a green usage or application at all for an incorporated business. I take issue with this application because the plan shows a 2-meter wide buffer strip. This looks good on paper. In actuality, it's next to useless. The trees are to be 2 meters high and 3 meters apart. The building is taller than that, and the trees are shown practically on top of the septic system. Who doesn't know that you don't plant trees near a septic? The noise will just come back and echo off the bush line. 1 row of trees doesn't stop anything. Businesses usually start at 7 a.m. We do not want to be woken up at that time every day when we are retired. The application also states a 100-year-old farmhouse. It is not. It's a 20-year-old quality home. Because the building site is on a section of sloped land, are they filling it in, digging it down, with the possibility of making our fields wetter and less usable? When is the township going to show the due diligence for the class 1 or 2 necessity for D6 guidelines, for the setbacks and all required provincial noise requirements? I feel this meeting has been rushed because we have to get all of our information together, but some of the township questions haven't been answered, and we have a right to know the answers to that information as well to form an informed opinion. We are hoping this meeting has brought it to your attention that this business in this particular area is not a good fit. Lastly, we were wondering when we will hear the decision or questions.
Thank you very much for your comments. Again, I'll emphasize there's no decision being made here today.
Yes.
The intent of this meeting is to allow the public to comment on the proposal, and staff are making notes here of your concerns. And when staff comes back to the Committee of Adjustment, they will have answers to all of those questions and concerns.
They will be posted?
Yes, they will be
Thank you.
in the staff report. Absolutely.
Thank you. That staff report depends on how long it takes them, or do
Correct.
you have any kind of a timeline?
We don't. Typically, it's, Ken, I would say 2-3 months after the application, depending on how much work needs to be done. Ken?
Through your worship, that's correct.
Yes.
It may be sooner, depending on.
Yeah, but certainly notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act, and those questions and concerns will be addressed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next,
My mom wants to talk, but she continued to read it. She wrote.
She
Sure.
has voice issues.
absolutely. Please.
Esther Kurt has asked me to read what she's written. She says, I don't want this application to go through. I'm 90 years old and have enjoyed the peace and quiet here for 44 years. We have been a part of the community. I'm not impressed with this application for a business. With the noise involved, it will bother me all day and all night. So far, he has already been a not good neighbor. He goes on our property and cuts our trees down and pretends he doesn't know where the property line is. Okay, that was from Esther.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
I
Sir,
also wanted to
Yep,
tell you
please.
that the next people speaking are relatives, and we have all been together and upset about this and discussed it. And what they talk about, I tried not to duplicate what they said as well. What they say stands for us as well.
okay,
Okay,
thank you very much.
thank you.
Sir, do you want to go next?
Sure.
Please.
Good morning. I'm Jeff Kurt. I'm one of the owners. Me and my wife bought my mom's property. Okay. We purchased the property in 2021 from my mom to come live there and help her out. Our lodge is up north, which was almost sold last year to my doctor, but because of the high interest rates on businesses, he backed out for now, which with what we're seeing going on down here, we're very glad for it. As if a business is set up next door, we will not live there. We will feel bad because my mom is the biggest loser in the whole affair, as she will turn 90 in May, and my mom is a very light sleeper. This is one of the few places we can come and actually sleep peacefully. As you know, it is costly buying property, land transfer tax, lawyer fees, etc. So it'll be a big loss for us as we're going into retirement, as we are not rich people. I lost this fall deer hunting because I had to have surgery on my shoulder, and we'll lose next year if they're allowed to build, because the deer will avoid the area because of all the noise and commotion going on. I'm getting older, and none of us know how many years we have left. So every year is getting more precious to me for hunting and spending time outdoors. And, okay. Okay, now, when we walk the property, you have the peace and quiet. You can hear the birds, the geese, the turkeys, see the occasional deer walking through the property. It is just so peaceful and relaxing. If this proposal goes through, I would never consider living in Green County and would never recommend it to anybody, because you can't be guaranteed your peace and quiet. It seems absurd to me, what's happening here. We will retire at Murray Lake, our camp in the north, where we will continue to have our peace and quiet up there. And it will be shut down as a business, which is very profitable, and at least 500 plus people, mostly repeat clientele, will no longer have this camp to go to. It will result in job losses in the north and a good income generating business to disappear. I know you probably can't care less about the north, as most politicians don't give a hoot about us. I guess it's the same thing going on down here next door right now, if that's what's going to happen. We drove over 800 kilometers in inclement weather to be here today, because this is very important to us. To show what kind of neighbor he is, we arrived at Mom's last fall as he finished taking out the fence line, which was partly on our property. He asked no one about where the property line was. He drove over our property with no regard, and when confronted later on what was done, he was smug and said, "Oh, I'm bad." He had no apology whatsoever. Then he brings some survey things and tells me where the property line was. as me and my dad had put a pipe over the surveyor's stake because my dad had the property surveyed. So I was showing him where it is. And then he was just off the deep end as far as I was concerned. But anyways, so then later on, he agreed with me that that was the property line. But I do not trust the man, period. Not at all. Okay. And it is not that difficult. You can go on, you can get the map off of your website. You can see the property lines. And we have a hollow in the bush, which is kind of unique. And it shows the property line going on the other side of it. And he's way over on our side. He's got the trees marked for logging, which I haven't been back in there to see if he logged our trees as well. So, okay. He's very pushy. Okay. And then I told him that if he doesn't want to pay for a licensed surveyor to do the job, he has to go by what we say. And then he's agreed to that. All right. But I don't trust him. I honestly, I don't know if he's even put the proper property line there when he's got his distance from his buildings. Okay. Okay. After he cut the trees, it was unbelievable. He had one massive fire, no water, no one near it, left it burning for a week in the field. And now he has logged the swamp, which is wetlands. He has all the brush out in the field again. Is he going to do the same thing again? Just light it up and burn it and walk away. He only comes on a Saturday and is gone again on that in the evening. He already logged the bush, so I don't know how he's going to make a living off of logging anymore because it's gone. He only has 20 acres that are workable probably, and by the time he does the building, that's going to be decreased a lot. With a horse barn, parking, and everything else. And it's actually in a very good part of the field where the soil is awesome. I would even think that the noise putting up the building would break the bylaws because it is going to echo and it's going to be loud. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Once this is done, the peace and tranquility will be gone forever. And who's going to want to buy it or live there? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I saw a couple other hands up. Does somebody else? There you go. Come on forward, sir.
You might be getting a little tired of this. This is Pat Turner.
Thank you.
I'm the neighbor across the road from this said property. Okay, let me get to my first spot. So this is my first question. Before I get started, is this zoning change already a done deal? And am I wasting my time?
This is a public meeting, sir.
I know. I'm just,
And
I
I can assure you no decision has been made and we're here to hear your concerns.
okay. So far you've heard before that this new neighbor has total disregard for his neighbors. With the fire that he lit the other year in regards to the brush pile. There's a new one, which we have pictures of. But the existing fire that he had for over 5 days and there was nobody there to monitor. My wife and I would go over and check it periodically during the week. I guess we should have called the fire department, but I'm not a squealer. Okay. So if you want to see the pictures and have them as evidence, it's up to you. Okay. Another question. Is the township just looking for tax dollars? Like, sure, you change the zoning, the tax dollars go up on that property.
Can I
Is
just,
it?
I'll just, sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
could you maybe keep your remarks directed towards the application itself? I mean, we're not here to arbitrate all the injustices of the past. I appreciate your concern, sir, but
Okay,
we're
what-
here to consider the application.
What you have to realize is all of us neighbors, we haven't slept in frickin' days. We're trying to figure out what's going on here. Do we really want it? One time This guy says he's going to have a manufacturing in there. Another time he said they're going to repair machinery. I don't know what's going in there. So how many businesses are there in a 10 square mile area already have this? The zoning change is going to go to what? What's he going to build there? We don't know. Okay. We'd like to know. And can they change it? Say a year from now, he gets a zoning change. A year from now, can he put a different business in there and sneak it in? Always ask for forgiveness instead of for permission. That's the old saying, eh? Okay. Another question about the zoning change. If he gets a zoning change, say Mr. Kurt here sells his property, can they get a zoning change and put another business across the road? So then I'm going to have two businesses in. Like, really? Our property value is going to decrease? Right now, I've got 365 days out of the year of continual, peaceful, quiet enjoyment. I can go outside, I can hear the birds. I know they're Mennonite people. They don't work Sundays. So I'm going to get 52 days out of the year that I'm going to have peace and quiet when they are not manufacturing. And the rest of the 300 and some odd, I'm going to have noise. Okay. The noise factor, generators, air compressors, air tools, nailers, dust collectors, air exchange units. In regards to decibel ratings, who does the testing? A normal voice is 68 decibels. Every decibel, the noise goes up, the noise intensifies by double. How do I know it? I was a health and safety rep and a certified instructor for the Ministry of Labor. I know this. I don't want to listen to it. I worked for Uniworld for 30 years. I don't want to listen to noise. Truck traffic on the roads, especially in the spring, going east on 26, going up the hill. Good luck. There's underground springs in there, and I've bottomed out my vehicles tons of times. How they're going to use the road, I have no idea. In regards to, like I say, you get a zoning change, who monitors what they're actually going to put in there? Is there somebody in the township that monitors this and actually says, okay, he's going to build roof trusses? We go in and find out that he's got punch presses in there and some kind of metal fab that's noisy as heck. Who monitors it? Okay. In regards to also, I know I've seen this in other spots. When there's a zoning change and they put in manufacturing or they put in a building, there's a water reservoir put in for fire. So that, yeah, if there's a fire, which you're manufacturing, you could have more apt to have fire because you're working with, say, torches, tools, who knows what. Is there a water reservoir that's supposed to be on this property? Good question. Also, how much excavation is going to be needed? And is there going to be runoff from that property to the neighboring property for the water table and everything else? Size of the field, agricultural fields. It's never been an income property for the small amount of fields that are there for doing agricultural, putting in beans, corns, whatever the case may be. It was never a big income. It was a retirement property. I think also what has to be done is there has to be a proper survey done at the owner's expense to draw that property line so that, yeah, that's the line. They know where they have to stay back from. Driveway clearance, east and west, exiting for large trucks, because they're going to have a lot of truck traffic coming in and out, delivering stuff, also taking stuff out. As it was stated before, the buffer tree line, that little tiny tree line, it's a joke. We have a neighbor down the road. I have a 100-acre property. 97 acres is bush between me and my neighbor going west. He plays the bagpipes. I can hear plain as day, and I got a whole bush. I love the bagpipes. But the buffer tree line is a joke. As they said before, the quality home that's on the property was built after 2004. I know it for a fact because I put my addition on my property on 2004, and that house went in after that. Every resident, I feel, on Southgate 26 from Side Road 61 to Gray Road 23, we all use that road. There's lots of us. Not the people within 100 and some odd meters of this property should have been given a notice. Everybody on that road, because we all use that road and it gets beat right to heck. And we phoned the township and said, hey, can you send a grader out and grade this road? It's terrible. And they do. You guys do it. So thank you very much for that. We're trying to reduce our impact of our carbon footprint, as you might say. And by running a generator 24/7 or say 16, 18 hours a day, there's nothing there. I drive a hybrid car. I'm trying to reduce it. I've got solar. Everybody else should be too. Let's see. As a closing, I have to tell you, a lot of us have lost sleep over this issue because my neighbor beside me, the Kurtz across, we've been there over 40 years on this property and it's been peace and quiet. As they said before, the hunting in the area, it's going to be reduced due to the fact of the noise level. Also, I noticed that there's 8 parking spots included in this application. I was told originally this past summer that he's only going to have a couple employees. What do you got 8 parking spots for? How many employees are going to be working here? The more employees, the more noise. Really. So as far as I'm concerned, from my wife and I, we speak and we say no. We don't want it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir, for your time. Appreciate your comments. Was there someone else had their hand up? Come on up. Welcome, Bonnie.
I'm Bonnie McCormick, representing myself and my husband Ken. We live directly across from the property that is being rezoned, and we cannot support this application for the following reasons. The applicant has had unlimited time to prepare their submission, while the people most affected have been awarded approximately 2 weeks to organize a response, which we would like to have had a lot more. I know the mail strike may have had an issue for this, but we just have found out 2 weeks ago. And we wonder why the manufacturing incorporation, it's not even a private family, it's an incorporation, why they would purchase a property and immediately apply for it to be rezoned. Quoting from the application, rezoned a small portion of a subject property to allow a small scale on-farm diversified use consisting of a workshop and associated outdoor storage and yard access. And the second was a proposed combined workshop, attached office and area with an attached power room. This proposed manufacturing facility is not small scale. It exceeds the size of many shops in local towns. And Ken has written out the size of the area that's been applied, so you all know that. We wonder why there is not much consideration given to the existing neighbors who have already spoken. We have moved there ourselves to escape a facility when we had a house in Flesherton. We had to move because we had an industry put up beside us that we had objected to, but it went through anyway. We have paid our taxes for many years and added to the fabric of the community, exhibiting respect for the neighbors and ask for nothing more but some road maintenance. We also, when looking up the information on your website, wondered why our specific information was revealed there in print without our knowledge or consent of it being there. And we wondered who authorized this inclusion and how was the information obtained? And then when we looked again, it was deleted and we wondered why that happened. Are the taxpayers of Southgate, we wonder why we're supporting an industrial park in Dundalk and why it's not being used for these type of businesses. If this application for rezoning is approved, we assume that Road 26 will be receiving major improvements to withstand heavy truck usage, as it currently is one of the most dangerous 3 miles of roadway in the municipality. And we also realize that there's similar industries within a few miles of where this one is actually proposed to be. That's our few comments, and we support our neighbors' comments. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Was there anyone else wished to speak in opposition? Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council? Okay, oh, Martin, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I've seen a lot of the factories. They do have solar power. They are switching over. Whatever the point made, they don't know what they're making there. It'd be a good question to ask if a small windmill or solar to mitigate sound, if that could actually power their business. So that's something that they could look into. And the tree lines, this may be to Ken. Is the buffer tree line actually for noise, or is it to hide the fact that there's a building there that isn't exactly, they try to make it more aesthetically pleasing, or is it a combination of both?
So through your worship, I'll start, then maybe Victoria can jump in with anything that I miss or correct me if I'm wrong. Typically, from a planning perspective, we would ask for a landscaped buffer to either screen a use from being seen, because it may be, it may have a negative visual impact, or we use a tree buffer to attempt to mitigate to some extent any noise or activity that's occurring on a site. Now, that said, there may be an existing tree line or treed area on the site. If the feeling was that was not sufficient, there is policy in your official plan to look at when dealing with on-farm diversified uses or uses in general, looking through the site plan process, the fact that we may require additional trees into that, recognizing that those new trees are going to have to grow, but that by adding that in over time, it would enhance whatever is there now to increase that. It's not meant to be an absolute or complete negation of noise. The D6 guidelines also kick in terms of the relationship of noise to other types of uses. I'm not sure if Victoria had anything else that she wanted to add.
Victoria, anything to add?
Nothing further. No, Ken hit the nail on the head with that one. D6 in combination with the landscaping provides a bit of mitigating measures for noise and for visual as well.
Okay, thank you, Victoria.
I can answer to that. There were a fence line there and he took, sorry.
Yep.
There was a fence line there and he took it out before he put the application in. So there are no other trees. They were taken down. That would have been quite helpful to have left that there.
Okay, thank you.
So your worship, just to add
Yep,
that,
go ahead.
As I said, whether there's trees there now or not, the policy, planning looks at trying to mitigate things as best as possible. So if there isn't trees there, one of the options we could look at through the site planning process is that we require planting of
Right.
trees too.
Thank you. Martin?
Yeah, and just for information for the next time around, when it's before us, the residents have said part of the road's pretty bad. The report from the building, from the road said it is a low maintenance, or what's the word? Load restricted. So it would be nice to know in the future what they are proposing to build and actually the amount of trucks per day or per week because of those conditions. So that's something that should be looked at also. I think they have some concerns about that. I never drive that road particularly, but if they say it's pretty bad, then in some certain times of the year, then that's all part and parcel.
Well, it certainly can be in the spring. I know it's never been rebuilt from many years ago, so I know it can be a tough piece
Okay.
in the spring when it boils out, that's for sure. Okay,
That road, excuse me, that road there is like hills that you don't see until you come down onto somebody. And if truckers are using that, somebody's gonna get killed. It's gonna be simple.
okay, staff Barb, go ahead, please.
Thank you. And forgive me if this is somewhere on the file. We don't have an aerial view, and Grey County has changed its GIS mapping, and I haven't figured it out yet, to see the actual topography and lay of the land. What is the acreage or hectares of this property? Because I was looking at the application and I don't know how to convert meters into,
23.8 hectares.
thank you.
So
I didn't find that.
60 acres?
No. It's probably around 50.
Yeah.
Okay.
In actuality.
20 hectares is
22.
50 acres. Yep, for sure. Okay.
Okay.
It's right in the bottom corner of the site plan.
Oh, on the site plan. I was
Yeah.
looking at the application.
three-
Thank
Okay,
you.
Ken, go ahead, please.
58.8, so roughly 59
Okay,
rounding.
tomato.
Yeah.
All right. Okay,
One-
so
That's right.
go ahead, Barb, please.
Thank you. And further, there are opportunities where we require any openings to be directed away from sensitive uses and can require those openings to be closed if there's complaints, correct? If this were to go through.
Through your worship, typically what council has done in the past with on-farm diversified uses in the motion that you adopt at council is that you make. My mic is on.
You need to speak up.
Okay, sorry. So through you, your worship, as council has typically done in using these or in dealing with these types of applications in the past, when you have adopted a motion to approve them, one of the conditions that is added to the motion is to require them to proceed through site plan. So we look at those issues through the site plan process.
Thank you, Ken. Okay. Staff and council have heard all the concern. Sure, absolutely. Come on up to the microphone, please.
The existing house is on the little map.
Yep, I see it there.
There's a big thing in front of it. What is it? On the map.
I have no idea. It looks,
Is it an addition to the house?
I don't know.
It doesn't say anything about that big box in front of the existing house.
Perhaps Mr. Shirk could answer that question. Sir, is there something in front of the existing house currently? Okay, so it has nothing to do with the applicant.
Size of what's.
Sorry.
over there.
Ma'am?
We need to, if we're speaking, we need to come to the mic.
Yeah,
But-
Okay, thank you.
but it's over double the size of what's already there.
But he would have to get a building permit, and that's a whole nother process. It has nothing to do with the application here in front of us
Okay.
today. So,
Okay, yeah.
just to clarify that.
Yeah, and with the septic bed, now it's very close to the 60 meters thing.
Yep.
Now it's going to encroach into than 60 meters. They're not gonna be 60 meters away from the property line if they put a septic bed out that side.
Well, I can assure everybody that the planning department, the building department, the bylaw department, they'll all be looking at this in the future because both staff and council have heard all the concerns here today, very much, loud and clear. So staff will now go away and they will consider all those concerns. They'll work with Mr. Shirk to address all those concerns. They'll put a staff report together for council's consideration with a recommendation in possibly a couple, 3 months, however long it takes them.
To know.
A notice will be posted. And then that recommendation will come. Yes.
I don't look there. So can you?
Well, maybe
send something-
perhaps I could defer to the clerk as to how that notice will be.
Can you send us something, to tell us to look? I'm not an internet buff.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Madam Clerk,
And mom does not have internet, so she won't know.
let the clerk respond, please.
Sure,
Lindsay?
through you, Mayor Milne. I'm just gonna say it's not a requirement of the Planning Act to do anything further than send the notice of the meeting. But I think with our concerns here today, we can discuss as staff and see how we can notify when this file is coming back, since I don't know right now.
Okay.
But we're gonna have to speak internally because that wouldn't be part of our process. It would be posted publicly under a staff report with the agenda.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what
But
date that meeting
yeah.
will be. And I understand your concerns with the internet,
Yeah,
so,
people that don't have the internet.
yep.
Fair.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
No, that's
But,
understood.
we can speak internally and see if we can come up with a solution with the concerns we've heard here today.
Okay. That's fair enough.
Thank you. Barb?
Through you, if I may ask, we have generally speaking, you can register to be notified when a decision is made, correct? So if someone has registered and submitted formal comments, whether in person or in writing, can they request to be notified of when the public meeting is, when the decision is coming forward?
So that's what I'm saying. There isn't a process that we have to follow or that we have internally that we follow to notify of when the meeting is coming. If an application, the notice of the decision of the application, whether it's approved or not, there's a notice of decision prepared. And that is something that you can sign up for to receive. That wouldn't be an automatic. You wouldn't automatically receive that, but you can sign up to receive that. But like I said before, we'll speak internally about making sure that we can come up with something to let you know. I see Ken has his hand up, so I'll let him
Go
continue.
ahead, Ken.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. If I could just add to Lindsay's comments, it's important to understand that the way that the Planning Act sets out the process, that when it comes to council, because this is an application that will come to council to decide, it is not another public meeting.
No.
It's not another public hearing. So this is the opportunity for the public, if they choose to do so, to register any concerns or support, whatever it happens to be. So, as Lindsay says, this would be abnormal to what we normally do. The act does require that we notify anyone who has formally submitted comments or spoken at today's meeting of the decision. But notifying of the actual meeting and when the report will be published is going to be something that would be different than what we do. And I suspect there will be some additional costs to that.
Okay, thank you, Ken. So, Jason, go ahead, please.
We've had a lot of good conversation here, a lot of perceived problems, I guess. I just wondered, we took questions from a few people if we give Mr. Shirk a chance, if he wanted. I'm not putting you on the spot to kind of give your side of the story, because there's always two sides. If you want, I'm not putting you on.
So I'll give you the opportunity, Mr. Shirk, if you wish to respond to any of the concerns, or it's up to you.
But sorry, maybe if you could just give us a rough, what you are thinking for the shop lights. It seems people think it's all over the place, but
Yeah, the intention is the shop to be used for making engineered floor joists that would be used in residential or farm. Or, and as far as power, the intention is to set up solar to run the shop, but we'll still need a generator for standby. If there's no sun or we don't have enough battery storage, we'd still need a generator for standby, right? So what were the other concerns? I forget.
well, no, it was just, you know, the other side's had their chance to talk. I just thought give you, you know, with to come back with maybe an argument with some of their, or an answer to
Yeah.
some of their questions when we got you here. It's a public meeting. So.
Yeah, we spoke to the neighbors beforehand a couple months ago, and we were thinking of putting a tree line back on the property line at that point, but then Mr. here said, oh, we don't have to do that. It's not necessary. But we definitely want to work with the neighbors, and we don't want to be bad neighbors. But it's as far as noise, the way the proposal is to have the doors faced away from the neighbor. So if there's a door open, that the noise doesn't go directly over towards the neighbors. And as far as noise, it would be very minimal for that.
Okay. If that's all, that's good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I have a gentleman at the back there wishing to speak. Go ahead, come up to the front, sir, please. Your name?
My name is Bruce Han. I live on Southgate 12, so this is completely distant from me. But I guess a couple of concerns would be if they're manufacturing floor joists for residential or farm use, would they have would it become a production sort of an operation, or is it more of a I guess in a farm use situation, they would be some I guess there would be an allotment of joists being built, and would it be is there any consideration for the hours of operation that they would be required to adhere to from the town? So that would, I just wonder about the amount of production that they were going to do.
Well, I'll go to Victoria for a comment regarding the hours of operation. Victoria, is there restrictions on that?
It's through the township itself does that through site plan control. It would be assessed. But we can't be there to control the hours specifically, but there are, I believe, certain hours through site plan control that it would be allowed or would be expected to be working hours within.
Thank you,
But it
Victoria.
might help if Eli had clarification on that point as well.
Yeah. Eli, do you have specific hours of operation you're thinking of?
7 p.m. to 5 p.m.
Yeah. Typical working hours.
Yeah.
Right.
Lowest on statutory holidays.
Yeah. Yeah. Sir?
Hi, I deal with solar. You're not going to run the business on solar. Yes, the batteries you would require and everything else would be horrendous. Like it would be, he'd have to increase his battery bank for sure when you're trying to run equipment like that. Because we run our whole camp and that, and in the summertime we're good. As soon as fall hits, like you're just done.
Yeah.
There's no way. And where their property is located, they're gotta face the bush or they gotta face the road if they're gonna put their entrance away from my property.
Mhm.
So it's just gonna echo. It's gonna be, there's no way to quiet it.
Thank you, sir. Well, as I mentioned, the staff, planning staff and council have heard the concerns loud and clear. When staff comes back with their staff report, they'll have recommendations on how to deal with those concerns. If council is satisfied, they will grant the zoning bylaw. If council is not satisfied that it's been mitigated, we'll deny it. Simple as that. So that's how this process will play out as we go forward. Barb.
And if I may clarify, while when it does come to council in a staff report with a recommendation, while it's not a public meeting, there is still that open forum option to speak to the report after it's published.
Correct. Sir, go ahead, please.
Yes, I was wondering who would be liable for the property loss value? Would it be them or would it be the township?
I am not qualified to answer that question, sir.
Because somebody should be liable for knowingly decrease our value. They should be responsible.
Oh, I guess we
Because
can,
it's just not my property, it's their properties. All of those properties will go down in value.
well, I can tell you that if council decides not to grant the zoning bylaw, there would be no property decrease in
Yes.
value.
Yes, I understand
So-
that. But we have to keep ahead of the game too, because
Yep.
we have to get our estimates done now before the
Understand
building
that.
goes. And then when the building's going, then we got to do it again. And then
Yep.
we know exactly what we've lost.
Understood.
Okay.
As I say, we've heard the concerns loud and clear, for sure. Okay, so that, Martin, go ahead, please.
Yeah, just for information, when the staff does report, I'm just going to piggyback on Barb about having a aerial map
Right?
and then an EP map like we usually
Yep,
see.
yep.
Just because, it's
Yeah.
a small parcel and
Gives a little more
how
context.
far the wetland is, and if they put the place on there, is it only going to be pasture
For sure.
or a viable farm that way?
Yep.
So more information we get, the better. And
Absolutely.
and I appreciated Barb brought that up. So.
Yep. Very good. Ma'am, go ahead.
Okay, every 10 years, we have managed forest, conservation, and then our 3-acre field. What they've done is we've just done the managed forest end of it, and they do have an aerial map. The wetlands are encroaching into the managed forest. So now the wetlands is taking some of our managed forest away because it is, the water table's coming up.
Right.
And
Right.
that, I paid $1,000 for them to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And just so I can save some money on taxes, but according to their maps, the wetlands is coming higher. So this is what's happening. So if you can get that map, you will see that it's increasing.
Yep.
So they're like the numbers might not be quite right because the wetlands is coming up.
Well, the mapping that the conservation authorities and the county rely on
Yeah.
haven't all been ground truthed, as they say. So
Okay.
the line can be subjective when
Mhm.
you're looking at the actual map.
Yeah, well, see, they do it every 10 years and they showed from 10 years ago, it has really
Yeah.
increased again.
Change is afoot. You're-
Exactly.
You're absolutely right.
Exactly.
You're right.
Yeah.
100% you are. Okay, thank you very much. All right. I think we've had a good discussion here. We've heard lots of concerns. I declare this portion of the public meeting adjourned at 11:38. So it is. Thank you all very much. Thank you, council. We are now adjourned.